Tell us a story.
Yes, tell us a story.
Alrighty, we are going to go out and about today before we go into the store. Trying a new camera angle, head mount, and we'll see how it does, what it looks like, and so forth and so on. Not sure if it's pointing down too much, not down enough, but we will see on the playback. Let's ride. There was a conversation that I had on Dante's chat a while back, the mention of JP4, basically high octane kerosene that they use in helicopters and the jet planes. Being here close to the Air Force Base, you got access to certain things. Back in the day, we didn't have all of the nitrous oxide and all the electronics and everything like that. We basically made everything out of what we had laying around, what we could manipulate or modify together, and it was mostly all mechanical. So back in the day, when I was building and running race cars at Killcare Raceway over in Xenia, we used to try and get more, if you get more cool air into the system, the oxygen molecules are condensed more, so you get more oxygen, more burnability. But if you get too hot, then it'll melt pistons down, which I have melted plenty of I've burned holes directly in the top end of a lot of pistons. And so we came up with things, and this is what we did. I'm not claiming that it was good, proper, smart. I'm not even claiming that it did anything to work, but this is just an example of what we did. We would take a box, make an aluminum box, and mount the carburetor inside a sealed aluminum box, put gasket around the top so that once we bolted the box down to the manifold, we could put the carburetor in. Once we put the carburetor in it, we would go ahead and set it up and run for regular gas. Once we had it set up and run and tuned and everything for regular gas, we would put an injector spraying down into the top of the carburetor that would mechanically inject JP4, high octane jet fuel, high octane helicopter fuel. Basically, it's kerosene. We would also put an injector on the side of that, and we would run a canister, a small canister of liquid propane. So the liquid propane, if anybody knows has ever filled up a propane fork truck or anything like that, knows that that is extremely cold. So what we would use that to do is to condense and chill the molecules in that box, in that air box, so that we would get more density. We would use and when you got that density, especially with burning the propane, which it burned under its own but needed oxygen, and once you started burning that, it started burning too hot. Well, the high octane in the JP4 would help the detonation so you didn't get a ping, so you could run your timing however you wanted. But also the biggest benefit to the JP4 was the greasability, the actual viscosity that was coming into it, which was the oily base to the JP4, which is basically purified kerosene, would take and grease the cylinders and lubricate the top end, because it was getting hot and dry by running the liquid propane. So cold that the molecules would become so dense, and then when they would explode, there would be 2, 3, 4 times as much explosion in the cylinder heads. So if you did that without running the JP4, two benefits, like I said, the oxygen, the higher oxygen content, and the lubability. If you ran that without the JP4, it would burn holes in the top of the pistons quickly. You got to remember, we're running a quarter mile or longer when we're racing. this, you know, quarter mile, the 8th mile or shorter that they have, or who's the fastest off the line type of stuff. Don't get me wrong, that's cool, it's entertaining and everything, but we were pushing machinery to its absolute limits. We were going as fast and as far and as hard as we could in a full, like I said, quarter mile or longer. We burned up so many cars running up and down Dilly Hill Raceway. It was amazing. So we would put that in. Well, to add pressure so that we could get more air, more clean air, hopefully, into that box, we used to use, they started using these air injector pumps back in the late 60s, early 70s. So we would take the air injector pumps, which were basically made to inject air into the exhaust manifold to burn for emissions control, to burn the excess pollutants. Well, those pumps are awesome. If you can actually gear them up a little bit with the belt drive, and you can make small miniature blowers out of them, turbochargers if you would, and it's in a forced induction trapped in that box. So if you gear it up, you overdrive it, it'll actually give you a certain amount of 4 or 5 pound boost. Well, back then on a normally aspirated motor, that was great. I mean, but when we mixed all this other stuff together on that box, there was some horrendous explosions, pistons coming out, oil pans, connecting rods poking through the block. It was unique and interesting. And like I said, I'm not claiming that we did anything phenomenal. I'm just recalling what we did. It was very interesting for its day, but that's, you guys got to understand, that's why we are where we are today with all the nitrous and all the turbochargers and all the electronic controls. I mean, because we were doing that back then. We pulled parts off of tractors, helicopters, airplanes. It didn't matter. We weren't above putting parts off an old manure spreader if we thought we could get a couple more mile an hour out of something and have some fun. But it was fun. We destroyed a lot of motors, though, I'll tell you that. There's quite a few hoods out there that's got some big dents in them. But yeah, we were just talking on that chat, and somebody had asked me, you know, if I had actually, do I just take pictures or had I ever built anything? I've built a lot of stuff, a lot of motorcycles, a lot of trikes, a lot of Volkswagen products, mostly off-road. In my soul, there's a VW printed someplace. That's all I can say. I love the machines, the durability of the machines, the simplicity, but what you can put them through on any given day and still come out the other end. Tremendous horsepower machines? No. But to have fun, listen, there's nothing better than that except for the gopher. But we used to we'd meet like on a Friday night out on Dilly Hill, and we'd get out there and we'd set at the bottom of the bridge and we would race that quarter mile, and right at the end of the quarter mile the hill started going up. We used it to actually slow ourselves down. Now, were we going as fast as cars do today? No. We're lucky if we broke 115, 120 mile an hour. Very lucky. There was a lot of instances of people getting hurt out there too, and that's when the Sheriff's Department back in 68, 69, and 70 started kind of patrolling that a lot more often, because it's basically, Dilly Road is just a road that goes out between, it used to be an old farm trail for cattle. It goes out of the swamp, out of Crystal Lake, and up into Park Lane, and it just linked the farms together where the farms could get through, and they just ended up naming it after the people out there and paving it over. And it is not flat. It is somewhat straight, but it is not flat by any means. It is a straight roller coaster. over 100 miles an hour hitting those bumps. Cars tended to be a little squirrely and lose control. And you got to remember, we're using those old street tires and stuff instead of the low profile or the drag slicks or any of that stuff that people use now. We're using old 15-inch street tires with huge sidewalls and lowering the air pressure down, and they become unstable. You get grip, but they become unstable as all get out. But for about 4 or 5 years we did that out there, and then we got old enough to go over to Killcare, and I helped set up and run a lot of cars over there. It didn't matter what it was. I'm not a real particular thing on anymore on Ford or Chevy or Mopar or whatever. I like everything. So it was good. We got over there. Hopefully, Killcare is still open and running, and they talk about selling it and doing this and doing that, but I hope it stays open, because there are certain things that I believe are icons of our area, and I really would hate to see it leave. I know it's weird. This is a nasty, dreary day, and I know it's weird, but I can't wait for the snow. I love to drive this thing in the snow. The front end, you get plenty of traction because of all the motor and the weight and everything's on the tail, but the front end acts like the rudder of a ship in reverse. So if you get into the snow, it can tend to be a little drifty, and the front end can wash and slide out from in front of you, but it's so much fun to just drive around in this. Well, we are here. It's been a real interesting time. I guess I should probably name this some type of mobile story time, because that's pretty much all it was. I never really ever do a true moto vlog, because I don't like to talk while I'm riding so much, and I really don't like to talk at all. I know I find people will find that hard to believe, but I like to enjoy what I'm riding and stuff. But that came up and stuck in my head, so I thought I'd share it with you. We'll see how it goes with the new camera, wherever it is up there, and we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna go in here, do my thing. Y'all take care of each other. Do your thing. See ya!
Story time is over!